Hello, it's Diane. Welcome to my messy stamping table. I had a bit of a play last night, with some colors on muslin, which I will get to in a bit. I'm working on owl journals, and if you saw my video yesterday, you saw the tags that I made, and my battery ran out, so my video cut off abruptly. So you were watching as I was applying the little pop dot things, and they're just slightly raised. They're very thin pop dots. I didn't want to add a lot of dimension to these tags, but there is a little bit, and it just pops it off of the tag enough to add some interest and texture. So I will also add some reinforcements on this side because they are reinforced on the back. The reinforcement is still here, so it does have the stability, but I just want it to have the look of a reinforcement there. And you saw these tags. So now what I'm working on are the pockets. So last night I took some of this owl fabric that Pierrette sent to me. Thank you so much, Pierrette. I love the fabrics that you sent me. And I took some upholstery trims, and I think these two trims were sent to me by Eve. And she has, if these are hers, she sent me a bunch of trims, and if these are hers, they're in her shop, the Snippet shop, and I can link that below. So I added these to this fabric, owl fabric. That's all I did, was tear it to the right size and then stitch on some trims, and this might get cut shorter when I decide what page it's going on. This was a trim that I had. I don't think I have this in my shop anymore. I did, but I don't think I do now. So anyway, these are pockets that will go in the owl journals. I'm also working on some library pockets, and that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I have these library pockets that I tore off the back of books that I got from library sales. This one came off quite nicely. It's in pretty good shape, but I need to cover up that writing. Some of them come off, this one's not bad either. But this one is torn here, and it looks pretty rough. But by the time we're done with it, you won't even know it. So let's do that one first. So I have these brown polka dot papers, and this one was not quite wide enough, so I cut a piece of this, and I really like having multiple designs on the page, on the pocket. I'm going to get my ATG gun. My Advanced Tape Glider by Scotch, and just apply these pieces to my pocket. It's going to be in the 90s again today. It's still, it's not 10 o'clock yet. So once we get later in the day, I probably won't be doing videos because I'll want to have my air conditioner on. So that part is covered. Now I need to cover this part also. And I will glue down this flap. This will be glued down to the page, but I also glue this down so it won't be floppy at all. But first I want to cover this. So I didn't bring a snippet over for me to do that with. Let me grab some scraps. I guess I wasn't fully prepared. Okay, here's my scraps. saw this stripe. I think this stripe would be good. So this is not quite 3.5 inches. It's like 3 3/8 inches wide, and I want it to have a little bit of a border around it. There's not much room here. I've got so much stuff sitting out here. So I'm going to cut this. Let's try 3 1/4. That's just about right. And this is rounded, so I brought this over. I have a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch rounder. This is a small edge there, so I'm going to use the 1/4 inch and just round that off a little bit. I could even that out, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to show. I'm just going to stick that in there. You can do this with new library pockets too, if you are able to purchase some. Oh, that's crooked. This would be the advantage of using wet glue. You'd be able to move it. I usually don't have a problem getting it in there. I think there's still enough glue tape on it that I can get it to stick. I have to move it where I can see it better. And I'm just gonna put a little glue here. Now I get to decorate it. I have these owl images from Mrs. Cogs Crafts, and I am going to decorate with these owl images on these envelopes. I also brought over some cheesecloth. I thought I brought cheesecloth over. Oh, I left it laying there by my sewing machine. And I picked out some trims and a little piece of fabric that might work. So we're just going to figure this out. Here's my cheesecloth. It's coffee dyed cheesecloth. I just pull on it to make it look, well, not look, it will become frayed. Give it a more rustic look. I have this very thin black lace that I could use. It gives it a nice accent. And I have some scraps of this copper lace. I don't know if I have any of the copper left in my shop. I was trying to decide if I wanted the black or the copper, but I might want both. So I am going to try to make 3 owl journals this week. And they're all spoken for. And one of them's not mine. I'll have to make myself one day. I like owls and bunnies and elephants. So I want to make myself journals with each of those animals featured. But first things first. Okay, so there's one. I like that. I like the way it turned out. And I want to use this project as a guest design team project for Mrs. Cogs Crafts. So I'm going to complete all 3 pockets on this video. But they don't take long. I measure, sometimes this is right. Library pockets vary in size. Sometimes the pocket part is smaller or bigger. So you always have to measure to make sure you're getting it right. But you just make it slightly smaller. See, on this one, this is an old Stampin' Up! Paper. I could use this side or this side, but let's see. Maybe to be different, I'll just use the flowered side. What was I saying? Just make it slightly smaller so that you have a little bit of a border around. Just because it looks nice that way. Now I need the piece up here again. I'll just use the same paper for both these pockets. I'll just make them about 1.5 inches deep. That might be even a little longer than necessary. No, that's good. Excuse me. Okay, hopefully we're done with that. This one's double-sided too. This isn't Stampin' Up! Though. I think this is Colorbach from Walmart. Very few of those papers are double-sided, but if they're ones that I like and they're double-sided, I buy them because they're only, I think it's $10 a pad if they're double-sided, and maybe $5 if they're not double-sided. There. And it's good quality paper. It's thicker than like the Paper Studio and Recollections papers that are just the thin paper. These are a little thicker than that, but they're not as thick as the cardstock paper. So I really like this weight of paper. Now we have 2 more owl images to stick down. This fabric might not be enough of a contrast with the brown background. I'm going to cut off the finished edge of the cheesecloth because that won't fray. I think I like the green because it kind of ties in this green and it's more of a contrast than the copper. That looks pretty. Do we still want this black? I think so. That adds a nice sharp little contrast too. Okay. All we have to do is glue. Mrs. Cogs had a sale. I'm not sure if it's still on, but she had, I think it was 30% off. And her images aren't expensive anyway, so if you're thinking about getting some of her digitals, go over and check them out. I'll leave her link below. She's been adding a lot of new stuff. She's been very busy. She just added a black cat one for Halloween. And I had said that when I showed my flea market haul, and I got a book called Elephant Walk, and it has a little picture of an elephant on it. And I said I was going to ask Liz Smith, Mrs. Cogs, to come up with elephant digital pictures, but she has some. They're photographs, they're not paintings like this, but she's got them. There's another one. See, this one had the green paper on the side, so the copper looked good with it. This one has brown, so I wanted more of a contrast here, so I used green. Get all these cheesecloth strands stuck to my glue. And my fingers. And black lace will be the final touch. Oops, stuck to my finger. Okay, 3 more pockets. So we have the fabric ones, and we have the library card ones. Now I'm going to show you what I was working with color. Actually, I'm going to do that in the next video. So, let me show you a sneak peek. And come on back to the next video if you want to see how I did these.